Hey moms, Rachel here. Good morning on Sunday. An impromptu live session here. I just wanted to talk about what you can do today to start healing your pelvic floor postpartum. And so this video is for you if you've just had your baby, if you're currently pregnant and wondering what you can do right after you deliver, or if you're further along postpartum and you feel like you still haven't really connected to your core and your pelvic floor. So if you're catching this live, if you could put a hashtag live in the comments. If you're catching it on the replay, put a hashtag replay in the comments just so that I can thank you later for coming and watching. So there's really like three basic things that I want to go over to help you start healing your pelvic floor today. And so the first thing, and these are things like if you've just had your baby, I want to be clear that these are things that you can do right after you've had your baby. Okay, so the day that you deliver, even if you're feeling up to it, you can start doing these things. And if you're further out postpartum, that's fine too. So the first thing is, and all of these are related to reconnecting to your core and your pelvic floor. So the first thing is a transverse abdominis contraction, right? So after we have our babies, there's like a big emptiness inside our bodies. And so kind of like reconnecting to the deep core muscle or the deep abdominal muscle is going to be really, really important for overall healing. The abdominal muscles get really stretched out with pregnancy. And so we want to sort of bring everything back together. Now, your transverse abdominis is one of the deep core muscles and deep abdominal muscles that sort of corsets the whole midsection together, right? So when you cough or when you sneeze naturally, right? When you kind of pull in the belly, and I'm demonstrating, you probably can't see me doing that, but when you do that naturally, that's the transverse abdominis that's doing that action. So basically what you're doing is you're not sucking your belly in, you're not pulling your belly button to your spine, but you are bracing in. So everything is sort of pulling in and up. And this is something, you know what, I'm going to demonstrate this. I'm 33 weeks pregnant today, but this is an exercise that I teach all my pregnant moms to do too. And you'll probably be able to see it a little bit better on me. So let me stand up and see, let me move my seat out of the way, see if you can see me here. So if I turn sideways, right? So if my belly is relaxed here, and if I tighten my transverse abdominis, pulling this way, sort of up and in, what I'm doing is tightening down from down below all the way up. So if you're pregnant, this is like, if you can see, kind of like hugging your baby up towards your heart, okay? And if you are no longer pregnant, let me just move my seat closer here. If you are no longer pregnant, it's the same idea where you're pulling sort of up and in, sort of getting that corset effect, okay? So, and the reason I say corset is because the transverse abdominis has connections from the back all the way around to the front to some of the muscles in the front of the body too. Does that make sense? If that is making sense, put a yes in the comments just so that I make sure that that's clear to you. Okay, let's move on. So the second thing that you can do to start healing your pelvic floor today they're called ha breaths. And so, you know, I just mentioned like transverse abdominis contraction, like with a cough or a sneeze, that's a pretty forceful contraction, right? And so sometimes right after delivery, those actually don't feel so comfortable. So doing a ha breath, okay? So if you practice that with me, ha, or you could even do it quietly, like you're fogging a mirror. So as you inhale, you take a deep inhale and then exhale. Your belly should pull naturally up and in, right? So this is just another way to get those deep core muscles activated, okay? So this is something that you can do every few hours after you have your baby. If you had a C-section, sometimes taking a pillow or like a folded blanket, like a firm blanket, and sort of holding it to the belly while you're practicing these exercises can be really helpful and feel really comfortable on the belly. So doing that gentle or ha, right? Pulling in, and you don't have to do a lot of them, just like a couple here and there, you know, every couple hours, okay? So that's the second thing, okay? So ha breath really just sort of layers onto that. First thing that I talked about is getting that transverse abdominis activating, okay? So try it with the ha breath, try it just sort of activating on its own, okay? If that makes sense, if you just tried it with me, type HA, H-A, in the comments, so that I know that you are trying these things along with me, because it's fun to not just listen, but to actually get up and try to experience what's going on in your body. It also rewires that mind-body connection too, so as I'm cueing it, practice it, okay? That's what I always do with my clients and my patients is, okay, they feel like they've got something, all right, do 5 more of those or do 3 more of those, just so that you get that pattern sort of ingrained. And if you've never voluntarily activated these muscles, then it could be a little bit tricky at first. So practice, do it in front of a mirror, try it with the ha, with either the audible or just sort of the like fogging the mirror, or just by itself. Okay, let's move on. So the third one is getting your actual pelvic floor contracting again. Okay, so these would be Kegels. Kegels are just the name of the doctor that the pelvic floor contraction was named after. So it's basically just a pelvic floor contraction. Okay, so if you've never done a Kegel before, it's basically tightening the lower portion of the pelvic bowl, if you will, as if you were going to like stop a flow of urine, or like sometimes you squeeze before you sneeze, which to be honest is not really a good thing to do, and that's something that we can get into for another day. But a pelvic floor contraction, right? So after you've been pregnant, the weight of the baby pushing down on the pelvic floor. This is important whether you had a vaginal delivery or whether you delivered via cesarean. So there's a common misconception out there that if you had a cesarean delivery, you don't need to do pelvic floor work. That's false, okay? It doesn't matter your method of delivery. You still need to work on your pelvic floor because it's connected to all the other muscles. It's also undergone a lot of strain just through carrying a baby for, however many weeks you were pregnant. I'm going to say 9 months, but for some of us, it's a little less, some of it's a little bit more, but that's a long time to have a lot of weight on the pelvic floor. So to do a Kegel, you're just going to tighten up and in. And in the beginning, this might be really hard to do because your body has been through actually a pretty traumatic process of delivering a baby, a very stressful process of delivering a baby. So keep these super gentle. They don't have to be fast. You don't have to do a lot of them, but just practicing tightening up in through the pelvic floor. So just a little bit of a squeeze and then a release. Okay, so do them with me. So squeeze your pelvic floor, kind of pulling up, up into the body, almost thinking about it as like, sometimes I like to think about it as like an elevator with different levels. So as you tighten in and up, you're pulling that pelvic floor up and in. The key is to make sure that you're not tightening like through your glutes at all when you're doing that, right? Or your quads. A lot of times if the pelvic floor is weak after delivery, the other muscles of the body want to sort of jump in and try to help out. It's okay if it's happening at first, but just kind of tune in and notice, and then see if you can't isolate the pelvic floor just contracting by itself. They're good to do in sitting, they're good to do lying down. They're actually going to be easier to do lying down because, believe it or not, you don't have the force of gravity on the pelvic floor. So start doing them, lying down. Sometimes even you want a gravity assist, so putting like a pillow or two underneath the bottom when you're laying down will help to reinforce that contraction. You might feel it a little bit more in that position as well. So Kegels, pelvic floor contractions, really important right after you deliver. I know that sometimes they get a bad rap for doing too many and not enough of other stuff, but when you are first reconnecting with your pelvic floor and your core, it's really important to do these exercises. So if that makes sense, type Kegels down in the comments, Kegels, so that I know that you've tried it, and you can do them like whenever throughout the day. Nobody will even suspect that you're doing them. So those are the 3 things that I just wanted to go over today. The 3 things that you can do immediately postpartum to reconnect with your core and your pelvic floor. These are great to, you can practice them while you're pregnant. It's not going to hurt you. And they're great to do even if you're further along postpartum and you feel like, like my abs are squishy, or like I can't do a proper Kegel. If you're sort of in that place and you need to start back at foundation and ground zero. So first thing was transverse abdominis contraction, right? Second thing was a ha breath to get the deep core muscles activating. And then the third one was a Kegel or a pelvic floor contraction. So I hope you found this video useful today. If you enjoyed it and you found it informative, please leave a thumbs up in the comment. Let me know that this was helpful. If there's anything else that you want me to talk about, to go over, to help you with, please leave that in the comments too, because a question that you might have, there's probably other moms that have the same question, and I'd love to be able to help you. If you need further guidance on your pregnancy or postpartum journey to get back to where you want to be, exercise and running wise, send me a message with the word info, and I'd be happy to talk with you about the different options I have available to help you on your way and get you back to where you want to be. Have a great day.